Hi everybody, it's Tatiana and this is Balm by Perkins-Valdez. She is also the author of Winch. This is her second novel and it follows the story of three people, and I'm saying it follows the story of, but it's not really a plot-driven book. It is more character-based than plot-based. Those of you all who have been subscribed to me for a while know that this is not the type of book that I typically read. I am in need of a plot. However, I really enjoyed Winch, and those who read more character-based fiction than I do had more issues with Winch than I did, because of course we're looking at it from different perspectives when we're reading these kinds of novels. And as someone who does not read literary fiction or character-based fiction often, I enjoyed, holy crap. Okay, so something that is big and flies that's supposed to be outside my house is inside my house. And life is not right now. Okay. I don't even remember what I was saying. Okay, we're going to try to focus. So, I hope I don't look like I am as totally unnerved as I am. This story follows three characters. It's set directly after the end of the Civil War and Juneteenth with the emancipation of the slaves. It's set in Chicago, and these three characters show up in Chicago from different walks of life and have to deal with the effects of the Civil War on their personal lives and have to figure out how to exist in this new city with this new time, with these new life experiences. And it's really a novel about reconciliation, about healing, hence the name Balm. I would love for someone who typically reads or who reads more character-based novels than I do, like Dee Dee or Michael or Danny, who doesn't make videos right now, to read this and give their thoughts on it, or just let me know what they thought about it so that we can kind of bounce that off of each other, so I can see how either far away from the mark I am or how close to the mark I am. This novel is written very, very well. There is so much obvious growth in her writing from Winch to Balm. The way that some things are said, some reflective things, some descriptive things, had my jaw on the floor, hence the tabs that have taken place, because there have just been things that were said and described and mentioned in the novel that were just gorgeous, and the growth, again, between Winch and Balm, completely obvious, and that's a good thing. That's what you want to see. I just really, really enjoyed. Let's see. Even though the war was over, the pall of the tragedy remained. Women walked arm in arm, eyes cast down, an empty sleeve dangled at a man's side, a waif begged for food. The town had awakened to an awareness of its mortality, and it moved with relief. But in her mind, the people of York needed a reminder of all that was wrong in the country. Their marked optimism struck her as false, a contrivance built up by minds eager to forget. Even her own mother, a casualty of war, these people could not see it. No rift this deep could heal. Pretty sentences or paragraphs like that are littered just all the way throughout this story. It gave its own wow moments within the story, within the perspective of the characters as they're going through their own musings and coming to terms with their lives as it is in this new world that they are experiencing, not just in city but in time, as historically as well. I found myself very much interested in the structure and building and creation of the city of Chicago as this story went along. It just, because there are things that I know about Chicago's history as far as it being lifted, like raised 4 feet, physically raised 4 feet, buildings physically raised 4 feet during this time frame that are in and of themselves amazing to think about being done in the 1860s. But I never thought about Chicago being a place where slaves, freed slaves, moved to after slavery was abolished. Never really thought about that, and I don't know why. It actually made me more interested in looking more into that. As a result of reading this story. There were some, but it wasn't perfect. There were some instances where it's difficult to differentiate between things that they're remembering versus dreams that they've had that they're sharing in the story, and because it's woven into the actual narrative so smoothly that as you're reading it, at some point I got confused as to whether or not this was still the dream or still the recounted conversation or event versus something that is happening right now. And it took me, going back over it and skimming it again after reading it, which didn't take a lot of time. But I kind of appreciated having to slow down and do that and just take the time to do that while reading a novel. But there's also a conversation that takes place, and I am still trying to figure out when Kentucky was mentioned to a doctor in the story, where he comes to the conclusion of what he's going to do to attempt to help somebody else, one of the main characters out in the story, and he gets to the thought of Kentucky, and I'm still trying to figure out who told you Kentucky. And I don't remember whether or not it was mentioned before. So that kind of made me pause a little bit. But other than, those things set aside, or even those things not set aside, even with those things, I really, really enjoyed this novel. As a genre that I don't typically read, I happened upon Wench. Wench was gifted to me by a lady that I've known almost all my life, who used to be a librarian. She, before she retired, she got to go to BEA, and the author was there doing signings, and so she got Wench and got it signed to me, and that is how I got introduced to this author. If this is the only author whose character-driven books or character-based books I read, I am okay with that, but whatever she puts out, I will read, because if she continues to grow, if the growth between Balm and Book 3 is as noticeable and beautiful as the growth between Wench and Balm, it can only get better. This was really, really great. So, yeah, that's all that I'm going to say on this. I hope that this is okay. We'll see what happens when I go to edit this. It's probably 40 minutes long at this point, because I did not stop the camera when I went looking for, I don't know if it's a wasp or a dirt dauber, but whatever is in this house, it's not supposed to be in here, and it's bugging the shit out of me. So I'm going to go find that and dispose of it. But yeah, that is all that I have to say on this. If you have read this novel, please talk to me in the comments below what you thought about it, your feelings toward the characters. I didn't give a lot about with the synopsis, because really the book is about the characters, and I didn't read the synopsis before reading the book, and even though the synopsis is not spoilery at all, because it's not a plot-focused book, you don't really need the synopsis. I just bought it because it was Dolan Perkins-Valdez's second book, and I wanted to read it after reading Wench. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend, whenever you see this video. Peace out.